Oh, that is a super complicated conversation. The first thing is normal. So I think 50% of the problem is just normalization. Is just knowing that this is a thing and that you are
Yeah.
not alone, and that tons of people have gone through this before you and have across the world from a range of traditions. And so reading books like, the Groff stuff, which is super helpful, I think.
Yeah. That was huge for me.
You know,
Spiritual Emergency. That
yep.
book was amazing.
Yeah, and The Stormy Search for the Self. Like, so these are classics. They have their problems. They ontologically don't scale. If you're coming from various religions, they might piss you off, or materialists, they might piss you off. Sorry, but they do have some really useful tech. And like a Path with Heart by Jack Kornfield. It's a great book, and it came out of that same generation and that same sort of set of syntheses, and it's kind of new agey and perennialist, and that's fun and fine. Or if you're coming from a specific tradition, basically any tradition you're coming from has its mystics. So if you're a Catholic, you can look up, St. John and the interior, Dark Night of the Soul and Interior Castle and some of those. And if you're coming from Islam, look at the Sufis. And if you're coming from Judaism, look at, the sort of mystical end of Kabbalah, however you pronounce it. I probably got that wrong. But so whatever tradition you're coming from has its mystics if you go looking for them, and they may be sort of dogmatically, orthodoxly kind of filtered and processed a little bit through the dogmas of the tradition, fine, but there's usually some kind of tech there. Or if you're willing to be more perennialist, again, Groff's and Jack Kornfield stuff, or Emma Bragdon's stuff, IMHU, their courses in how to deal with and relate to this stuff that are based on the best we currently have. And I think we can do way better than that. None of this has high quality outcomes data. None of this has linguistics that scale. None of this is ontologically neutral, but it might work for you in particular. If you're having Kundalini stuff, I find Tara Springett's stuff cool. A lot of people get a lot of mileage out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a book on this stuff. It's free at mctb.org. And there are whole online forums dedicated to this stuff. I run one of them, the Dharma Overground. You can find, it's an online forum. It has all the pros and problems that come with an online forum, but, it's an imperfect world. But sometimes you can get great support in some of these places, and again, a lot of normalization. And then, yes, everybody's going to argue about what to do. What do I do with this? Do I do with that? Do I meditate more? Do I meditate less? Do I do this kind of technique? Do I do that kind of technique? And one of the things we would love to do is the science to actually give you a better answer than just a whole bunch of opinions filtered through what hopefully worked for them, and help them to stabilize this. And that's what they happened to find when they did their Google search or whatever. And so, hopefully we can end up with data that actually compares these things. One of the things we actually really want to build is something called the Emergent Research Center, where we bring everybody in and we have, people do what they do the way they do it. And we study them very, very rigorously and see what these traditions lead to. What do they handle well? What do they maybe not handle so well? What kind of outcomes do you get if you longitudinally follow people after their intensive 10 or 20-day retreat or whatever? And what kind of frameworks and technologies do they have to handle the complexities and to promote good outcomes and upgrades of consciousness and experience and emotions and well-being and all that? And then to actually head-to-head compare these things. So I use the analogy of martial arts all the time. And sorry, it's a violent analogy, but I think it really works pretty well. So all of the martial arts traditions were like, karate is the best. No, my dragon technique will defeat it or whatever. You get the standard thing of all the martial arts thought they were the superior technique and said so. But, mixed martial arts definitively proved, nope, none of you were the best. What works is a very skillful, thoughtful, intelligent blend of these that's very pragmatic and real world. And a trained mixed martial arts fighter is going to beat pretty much anybody in their weight and strength and training, level coming from a single tradition. Unfortunately, sorry, it's just true. And so, in the same way, we think some kind of blended mix approach, drawing from a lot of the cool tech of a lot of the currently available technologies, is going to do better than any of them. Though some of the best of what's already out there do pretty darn well. So that so that's where I'd start, but I think it's way more complicated than that.
Yeah, it's a very big ball of yarn, but I think that is a helpful way to go about thinking about it. Thank you for checking out this clip. If you want to see the full episode, you can do so by going up here. I hope you have a wonderful day.